是一个什么样的女孩？
张扬呗。
张扬。还有吗？
爱玩。
爱玩。如果形容她是一个什么样的妻子，你会怎么形容？
不负责任的。
不负责任。
对，没有家的概念。
After marriage, the wife never went home, spending all her time indulging in bars, KTVs, and other entertainment venues, behaving intimately with strange men. Xiao Su completely abandoned the family and indulged outside. Faced with her husband Mr. Yu's dissatisfaction and concern, not only did she not restrain herself, but she even accused her husband of being petty. She often said, "I'm just going out to have some fun, don't be so petty, you are a grown man." This attitude made Mr. Yu both angry and helpless, and also pushed their marriage into deep crisis.
起来化下妆，然后就出去，一直要到晚上回来，天天都是这样的。
一个礼拜7天，7天都在外面。
对，谁受得了？
Mr. Yu said with grievance that ever since he married his wife, he had never lived a single day of normal family life, and his wife had never stayed at home peacefully for a single day. In a week of 7 days, she could play outside all 7 days. Every day, she would get up in the morning, put on makeup carefully, and then leave without a backward glance, not returning until she stumbled home drunk late at night. How is this like a home? This is simply a hotel. She comes back when she wants, leaves when she wants, with no sense of home at all. When she returned home, the wife never communicated properly with him, as if he was invisible in her eyes, as if he didn't exist. No matter how many words he had, how many feelings he wanted to share, his wife never cared. He truly hoped to be able to have a warm meal together, to sit down and have a good talk, but this simple wish had become a luxury. He could not understand why, after getting married, he seemed to be a person forgotten by his wife in some corner, left to endure this coldness and loneliness alone. Mr. Yu's grievance was touching, and what happened later only made their relationship worse. That was the day of Xiao Su's friend's birthday, when they went to KTV.
就是去 KTV 那次嘛，他朋友生日嘛，我也去了。他朋友叫了个男的去，那个男的好像喝了点酒，就是摸了他一下脸，然后搂了他一下，然后我就说这样搂一下没什么关系，但是你不要有什么反应。然后去吃火锅的时候，路上我跟他说了，这两个男的离他远一点。然后两个男的打电话过来，他说他不知道路，那个男的叫我老婆接电话，然后聊得很开了两个人。
Mr. Yu said at that time, when his wife's friend had a birthday, he also went along, originally hoping that since his wife had been cold to him lately, this could be an opportunity to ease the relationship. However, one man invited by the friend, after drinking too much, actually touched his wife's face, and even put his arm around her. Mr. Yu instantly felt like a needle pierced his heart, but he still kept a calm surface and said, "It doesn't matter to put an arm around, but don't have any other reaction." Yet his wife only glanced at him lightly and said that he was too petty, "Isn't it just a hug or a touch," as if it was no big deal. Seeing his wife so unconcerned, his heart was even more uncomfortable, silently asking himself, in your heart, do I not even have the right to be jealous? On the way out from the bar to eat hot pot, that man called, and the wife picked it up without hesitation, smiling, chatting warmly with him. Mr. Yu hurriedly reminded his wife to stay away from that man, that he was not a good person. But his wife just said she knew, and still chatted with him passionately. At that time Mr. Yu was both angry and wronged, thinking, as your husband, do I still have any place in your heart? We are husband and wife, how can you openly chat so intimately with another man in front of me? Later, he couldn't stand it anymore and turned away to leave. He thought his wife would hang up the phone and chase after him, but she didn't. Instead, she kept talking on the phone, only returning home more than an hour later. Yet, towards this matter, Xiao Su's attitude was cold and dismissive. In her view, this was purely her husband making a fuss out of nothing. She felt her husband was overly sensitive and petty, magnifying a trivial matter endlessly. This was just the most ordinary kind of contact and communication between friends, but he suspected and made a fuss there, his heart smaller than the tip of a needle.
我本身就是一个很外向的女孩子，出去玩，其实那天那个男的搂着我，他不是搂着我，他是可能喝多了，手上弄过来，我就反手哈，我就说干嘛你啊，喝多了是不是？我都这样讲，因为后来在吃饭的时候呢， 因为在那里聊天嘛，有的时候可能是我是比较随和的人，人家打电话的时候就会随口说小美，他说小美在说话是不是？我说是的呀，我说你过来吃夜宵嘛，大家一起开心。
Xiao Su felt that maybe her husband thought some of her behavior was improper, but she believed that she had already done what should be done at home, and going out to play was also very normal. At this age, going shopping with friends, especially with other girls, was not a problem. When talking about what happened in the KTV, Xiao Su spread her hands, looking incredulous as she explained, that man was probably drunk, that was why he acted that way. She said that she immediately showed resistance and reprimanded him. Just such a trivial matter, yet her husband kept holding on to it. It was really strange. Afterwards, while eating, because she was outgoing and easygoing, when the man called, she just responded naturally, and casually invited him to join for a late-night snack. After all, they had already met while singing. She felt that, as friends, such communication was the most ordinary thing. Facing the host's comments about her husband's worries, Xiao Su pursed her lips with disdain, admitting that maybe she was wrong to pick up the call and invite the man for supper. But with her arms crossed, shaking her head, she said that she had just used a polite way to invite the man to eat late at night, nothing more than a normal invitation between friends. Did her husband really need to overreact? Petty to the extreme, getting jealous and angry over such a thing, simply unreasonable. When the host mentioned that her husband walked away angrily, why didn't she follow? Xiao Su shrugged, full of indifference, saying she knew her husband was upset, but at that time her friend asked her to stay a while, and she herself had not eaten yet. If she had just left, it would not only embarrass her friend, but also make her lose face. Xiao Su frowned and complained, just over such a trivial matter. Her husband turned his face and walked away. Didn't he think by doing that, where would her face be placed? How would her friends see her? He only cared about his own little feelings, smaller than the tip of a needle, really too childish and petty. She considered her friends' feelings and her own dignity. Was that wrong? But her husband didn't care about her situation at all, only knew how to throw a tantrum, simply unreasonable. In the whole description, Xiao Su showed no concern about her husband's anger, feeling that he was too petty, making a fuss over nothing, and her attitude towards him was full of contempt and disdain.
打了30多个电话，结果都是他朋友接的。
他哪有打30个电话？
有的
打电话是打了，你说30个？我跟你讲，他不是我跟他
为什
讲了，
么不接他电话呢？
一个电话打了，他喜欢骂人，我哪能接他电话？
Xiao Su said, after her husband left, he did call her a few times, but as soon as she saw those calls, she immediately felt annoyed, so she didn't pick up. All along, whenever it came to this kind of matter, her husband would call and start yelling, always saying unpleasant things, like, "You shameless woman, fooling around outside every day, do you still even care about this family? All you do is hang out with shady people, shameless, disgraceful." He could say whatever he wanted, but she didn't care at all. Just thinking of those words made her feel ridiculous. She never cared about her husband's accusations and insults. After all, once she picked up, it would definitely lead to another round of shouting, definitely a big fight. At that time, with friends around, she really didn't want to deal with such things in that situation. Her husband's baseless suspicions and accusations, she simply didn't take to heart, nor did she have the mood or energy to deal with them, so she simply didn't answer. She thought maybe later, when both calmed down, they could talk about it. But she didn't have much hope anyway, let it be. Later when she came home, her husband actually locked her out, not letting her in. She got angry too, knocking hard on the door, but her husband refused to open. Even with her friends persuading him, it was useless. Her husband was simply unreasonable. She was only engaging in normal social interaction, but her husband made a scene like that. Anyway, she believed she was not wrong, so if her husband wanted a Cold War, let it be, she was not afraid. From their dialogue, it was clear that Xiao Su felt her husband was just making trouble without reason, narrow-minded. Yet Mr. Yu was extremely dissatisfied with his wife's careless attitude of not taking him seriously, saying that her lack of boundaries had already happened more than once.
地方吗？他那换衣间，那男的在那里换裤子，他都拍照片发给他朋友。
没有，是因为
那个男的就穿了一条内裤，他就拍下来了，太开放了。
Mr. Yu said, at his wife's workplace, once a man was in the fitting room taking off his pants to change, and when his wife saw it, not only did she not turn away immediately, she quickly pulled out her phone, took a picture of the man who was only wearing underwear, and then sent it to her friends, her face showing a careless look. At that moment, in that setting, she should have quickly turned away. Hearing Mr. Yu say this, Xiao Su spread her hands, justifying herself loudly. The fitting room wasn't just me, there were several other girls chatting there too. But even so, could that justify her casually taking pictures? Mr. Yu thought more and more angrily, complaining that from the photo he saw, the image only had that half-naked man, and no other girls she mentioned. She casually took such pictures, even smiling faintly, too open. Was this really appropriate? What was she thinking, being so indiscreet? And this was not the only time. Who knew what outrageous thing she might do in the future? It was unbearable. Xiao Su, however, did not care at all about her husband's dissatisfaction. In her eyes, his accusations were groundless, making a fuss over nothing. She just did things her own way, showing contempt and disdain towards her husband.
这个是因为我们在一个群里嘛，就是一个大堂的那个群，大家在那里拍，然后发在那里，然后我就看到了嘛。我说耶，我说这谁啊，这么无聊吧？然后我就又发给人家嘛，就是发给我们是做另外一个女孩子跟我们在一起工作的，我保存下来，然后发到她的 QQ 上，知道吗？我说这个人真是的，这脸皮这么厚，大庭的来开玩笑这样讲。
Xiao Su said, at her workplace there was a company group chat, everyone would post photos there. She saw those photos and casually said, "Hey, who is so boring?" And then she saved some and sent them to another female colleague. She even sent them to her husband's QQ joking, "This man is really thick-skinned, changing pants so early in the morning." But her husband made a big fuss, clinging to this, his heart as small as a needle. She just thought it was fun, yet he escalated it, too petty. "I only took that man's picture while changing clothes, what's the big deal?" Xiao Su said casually. Her light and dismissive attitude made Mr. Yu's anger explode. His forehead veins bulged, and then he immediately mentioned another incident, leaving everyone stunned.
上次我刚回家的时候，正好碰到她那个前男友背她回家。
这件事情是这样的，因为我那天从那个出来了以后摔了一跤，然后我才叫他来接我的嘛。
就上班认识的，
就故意瞒着你了。
对，感觉就是这女人怎么说呢？反正就是感觉很会玩吧。半年左右，那个她的前男朋友生日，给她发了个快递，亲爱的，我是你的唯一，这是她发的。这还有信任吗？
Mr. Yu's face was filled with indignation and helplessness as he began to recount the moments that made him doubt this relationship. That day, when he returned home from work and just reached the door, he saw his wife being carried on her ex-boyfriend's back. She was leaning against him, wearing a smile that he had never seen before. In that instant, time seemed to freeze. His heart felt as though it had been gripped tightly by a merciless hand, leaving him unable to breathe from the pain. Later, through persistent searching, he uncovered the secrets that had long been hidden. When he finally confirmed that all those unfamiliar numbers stored in his wife's phone belonged to her ex-boyfriend, he felt as if his entire world was collapsing. The trust and love that once existed between them instantly shattered into nothingness. He could not believe that the woman he had loved so deeply had been deceiving him with lies and concealment all along. Those strange phone numbers became pieces of evidence, mercilessly mocking his foolishness and naivety. Every time he thought of those numbers, every time he recalled his wife's lies, his heart felt brutally torn apart, leaving him in unbearable pain. At the beginning of their relationship, he had earnestly made an agreement with her, that once they were together, she would cut ties with her past romances. She had promised wholeheartedly, and her words still echoed in his ears. Yet in less than half a year, everything had changed beyond recognition. On her ex-boyfriend's birthday, the ambiguous card she sent was like a sharp blade, slicing apart the last remnants of trust he had for her.
这个事情是事实吗？
因为我知道他是有疑心病重嘛，所以我就没跟他讲。
一直有联系的他们，和我在一起的原因。
但是我跟他是很少联系的。我那个朋友嘛，也跟他解释了我们两个人的关系，也跟他解释了。当天晚上。
但是为什么要说那样一句话？
我也不知道，就是想买个东西嘛，又没有别的意思，我是这么想的。
Hearing her husband accuse her about the ex-boyfriend, Xiao Su could no longer hold it in. She said, because she knew very well that her husband was always very suspicious, so regarding the matter that she still had some contact with her ex-boyfriend, she chose not to tell him. Although now they were married, her contact with her ex-boyfriend was indeed very little. But no matter what, between her and her ex-boyfriend, they were still friends. About this matter, she had also explained it to her husband, including the details of what happened that night. But maybe in her husband's heart, he always felt that she and her ex-boyfriend had something improper between them. Xiao Su said frankly, everyone has different thoughts, and this is inevitable. In her view, it really was not worth making a fuss about. Her ex-boyfriend had taken good care of her in the past, especially when her grandmother was sick. He had been by her side caring, and he had also helped a lot with matters in her family. She felt that one could not be ungrateful, one had to value feelings. So at that time, she just thought of buying him a gift on his birthday, as the last bit of appreciation, nothing more. Really no other special meaning. But her husband kept pestering about this matter, which she really could not understand. Just over such a small thing, did he really need to escalate it so much, making a fuss? He was truly too petty and too sensitive. In the end, after many conflicts and arguments, Mr. Yu became disheartened, deciding to divorce his wife Xiao Su. Faced with her husband's resolute attitude, although Xiao Su still spoke toughly, deep inside she began to waver, even showing a bit of regret, trying to save this marriage. However, after several emotional mentors considered the couple's experiences and conflicts, they all agreed that their personalities and values were too far apart, and the trust had been completely broken. Continuing would only trap both sides in deeper pain. Marriage is not only about liveliness and fun, but also needs responsibility and protection. After losing the most basic trust and respect, this relationship was already impossible to maintain.
This marriage, in truth, was just a clash of two extremes. Xiao Su, flamboyant and playful, treated marriage as a shackle, treated the family as a hotel, never once putting responsibility in her heart. Mr. Yu, on the other hand, looked honest, but in his bones he was overly tolerant, retreating again and again, only leading his wife to become more reckless. The woman lost her bottom line, the man lost his dignity. Such a marriage was doomed to collapse. The real tragedy is not infidelity and quarrels, but that both sides had long stopped caring for each other, yet still remained trapped in marriage, torturing one another. Finally, deciding to divorce was not a failure, but Mr. Yu's last moment of clarity. Brothers, what do you think? A woman who treats her home as a hotel, who treats her husband as invisible, is she still worth forgiving? If it were you, meeting such a wife, would you choose to endure or decisively leave? Welcome to leave your views in the comment section. I look forward to hearing your voices. If you like this video, don't forget to like and subscribe to our channel. We'll see you next time.